Hello, everybody. We should be live, hopefully. If anybody is joining us, can you please give us a shout? It's still showing as being scheduled. Not anybody in yet, but we'll see. Started. So we are streaming anyway, I think. So let
I
us
don't
know,
see the
guys.
new.
I just got a
Where's the new?
notification that you're live, so
Did you just get one, Amanda?
yep, I did.
I have the old one. Oh no, there is. Got it. Okay. 15 seconds ago.
Ah, here we are.
Okay.
Right, guys, you're gonna have to. We hear you. Right, will you speak, guys? I think we might actually be getting somewhere.
Hello.
Hello.
Right? 34 seconds, wreck. That's brilliant. Even Lorne couldn't have beaten that.
Ugh. That's all it took. We fixed it with a hammer.
Yeah.
Hi, Kathy Mac.
Right.
Hi, Gorilla Face.
Right, okay, good. So, right, guys, I'll give you a warning. I tried a different way of superseding or circumventing my usual internet provider, but that didn't work. So, if it goes down, it goes down, you know. Although there is hope, because a new internet provider has managed to get established in the area, which means hopefully I can get it sorted soon. But we've got people here anyway. Lorne would have made it to 87 seconds, yeah. Anyway, before we cut out, I was saying that we were giving a break to Lorne's book because we were struggling with it, and Amanda James only painstakingly kind of transcribed the first three. Was it what did we get up to? Was it the end of chapter 2 or the end of chapter 3?
What was it? Was it the end of chapter 3, or do we stop mid-chapter? I can't even remember now.
Who made the
tell you
chapters? Was it you that made the chapters or Lauren when you were
Lorne
transcribing?
made the chapters.
Okay. It could be anywhere. One chapter could be like 2 words. But I think in terms of where we were, they were on Katahdin, right? And the more I think about it, there's some kind of a homicidal creature that's killing people all around them, and they think that the fire is the protector. So, and they don't want to use their cell phone for some reason. They want to save on minutes. But I don't. We haven't seen the creature yet, but it's so stupid, and it's really hard to it's like such low hanging fruit with the humor. It's so easy right there. And in terms of criticizing it for any kind of literary work, it's not there either. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's difficult to critique it properly, though. It's like I said to you, with Taken Abroad, he's released that book, and you can literally let rip on that book and him. With this, you kind of can't because it's unreleased. You at least got to concede that he may have reread it and changed a lot. Now, we know it's not going to turn into a literary masterpiece. I'm not stating that, but what I'm saying is it may have been less stupid. I think when we continue, we've just got to try, as difficult as it is, because I even kind of didn't follow my own guidance. It's too easy to critique it, but we need to stick to the content because we're seeing what Lorne thinks or Lorne thought at that time about teenage love or love in general. You know, just what goes on in his bizarre brain. You know, for some strange reason, we're interested in what goes on in that head of his. I'm kind of thinking one day I'll just kind of not give a fuck anymore. You know what I mean? I'm like, what does it matter what a weirdo thinks? But I don't know. It's a strange one that, you know, I wrestle with often. And I still listen to the calls every now and again.
It is tough. I was transcribing it, and Lorne is actually making the edits while he's reading it in the recording that I'm going through. So it makes it tough. And he did confirm, I was just doing it yesterday. I was just transcribing it yesterday some more. And he did confirm that the book is missing the first 4 pages. And that's why it started off so weird. And he just can't find it.
Oh, that's the reason.
Right.
And he did say that his mother urged him to finish that book and publish it.
What, the creature?
Yeah, the creature. Mm-hmm.
Why? She's not read it, has she? As far as we know.
I don't know. I assume, or at least she lied and said that she read it and said, "Oh, it's great, Lon. Keep on going. You need to finish it." Maybe trying to keep him out of trouble, keep him busy. I don't know why she would want him to finish it.
Yeah,
but
I mean, we look at this thing and we analyze this thing to try to figure out this idiot's mind, who he is, and just like the chat log, we're trying to figure out who he is when nobody's looking. In this book, in the books that he writes, it's always about him signaling something, like how chivalrous he is by opening doors. And
you mean like his social commentary? You mean?
Yeah, it's more like it's more like a supposition. No, it's more like what he hopes to project as an image for himself.
Smokey the Cat has just said, "Missing page is my ass."
No, I totally agree, Shin. I think it's interesting. It gives you a good look at his idea of gender roles specifically.
Right.
Throughout the book, he wants to appear as a protector, above all, of women. I mean, we saw his friend where we just left off. His friend was 25 feet away, he said, and was murdered by the creature, his male friend. And he couldn't go those 25 feet to help him or do anything. He just stood there and watched because he couldn't leave the girls behind. He couldn't leave the fire. The creature might get him. So he just watched his friend get murdered, I guess, and just stared at him all night. But it shows he talks a lot about reassuring the girls. And the girls are kind of just like little children. They don't do anything helpful. They just listen to the boys. Well, specifically to Samuel, because he's the leader. He took on this role of like leader and survivalist and protector of women and children.
That moniker of protector of women and children, whenever I hear somebody say that, I protect kids, like Lorne says that all the time. I mean, that's what we all do naturally anyway. Normal people do, right? You saw a child in trouble, you would do something, you would help, but he wears it on his sleeve, like he's some superhero. He's looking for an incident where, like I said before, he run into a burning orphanage and save orphans. It's really weird. And his other thing about, and he mentioned this about Tony, during his backhanded eulogy of him, talking about how Tony was a protector of women. What does that mean? I mean, why do you have to say that? I mean, of course you're going to protect them, but what does he do? Go around looking for situations that, he can, see a woman who's being abused and do something about? No, absolutely not. So it's all that signaling bullshit that's reduced to writing in his book. Actually, that's what his book is all about. It's a vanity project. That's all it is.
It's weird, his opinion or his idea of protecting women and children. I mean, we heard him say, "I spent my whole life protecting kids."
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
Protecting kids, does that mean you don't kill them?
Yeah,
so
that's exactly what he means, is he didn't have the opportunity to abuse them all, so therefore he spent his whole life protecting kids by not assaulting them. That's what I think that there's some truth in that. I believe that is part of his... Because probably what he'll do is he'll walk past what he thinks is an attractive 13-year-old girl and not attack them, and therefore he's protecting them. I don't mean he'd physically attack a girl. I don't believe he's a... Yes. I don't want to get... But I know people have different opinions about his how far he would go in his predatory ways, because he is a predator. There's no doubt about that. There is some conjecture with regard to how far he would go, but It's like I said, you've got to think about Lorne as the sea lion. I know it's comical, but the sea lion who's so far down the pecking order that he has to resort to, because the alpha males have I know people have got people are picturing that in the brain now. I'm sorry to do that. You've either got a sea lion with a Boston cap on or a horseshoe haircut, or both.
Yes.
And a stupid earpiece. I've actually got that in my head. There's going to be somebody come up with a cartoon of that.
Me too. As horribly disturbing as image as it is, that horseshoe haircut turns it into a comical mess. But if somebody were to come up to you in real life or whatever, and you were just in a conversation, and somebody said, "I'm a protector of kids. I'm a protector of women," you would look sideways at them, wouldn't you? I mean, that's not a.
Well, you'd probably say, "Oh, you work for a charity, or you're a police officer, or
yeah,
you're what do you do? You know, do you work in a school?" No, I'm a sex offender, but I only got caught once. Oh, okay.
A child predator, but not anymore. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I know how to say no now.
He talks a lot about how he used to take care of his nieces, and I believe a nephew, but he talks way more about the nieces. And he said that he was very protective of them. And remember the story about how when he let his little niece go in a chat room,
yeah,
and some man started talking dirty to her, and Lorne freaked out. Yeah. Maybe that's his idea of protecting her. I mean, letting a young child go in a chat room where Lorne know how people talked in chat rooms, because that's how he was talking to children.
Yeah.
So that's a good example of protecting her.
He wasn't protective. He was jealous.
But you've got to...
The way he reacted, he admitted he overreacted and scared his niece.
What I kind of like about what we've done in all these videos, and myself, I'll just speak for myself here, I don't want to speak for you two, but I think I've got a pretty good idea of how Lorne thinks, of how, and I can almost step out of my vantage point and into Lorne's. I'm digging myself a hole here, but what I mean is, you've got to almost become Lorne in a way to try and understand why he says the things that he does and does the things he does. Because if all you're doing is just looking at your own, projecting your own values onto him, it's of course that's how we normally operate, because that's human nature. But you can't do that. It's like when you see something on the TV. It's like there's some really bad shit goes on in the world, things that I don't think we're even aware of. Like I was reading. I'm not going to give specific details, but there are fathers who sexually abuse their own kids to a massive degree, and you can't even. Everybody listening to this, and you two guys are parents. You can't even contemplate that. It doesn't exist in your reality. It is so far away from what you are, and it's the same. Like you couldn't put yourself in that perspective, and it's the same. To a lesser extent, I think, with Lorne, it's like he operates totally differently. In his brain, he is protecting kids. He's almost believing that. He's not the bad guy. The world has wronged him. You've got to try and slip into that mindset. Sometimes.
Yeah, he was being framed. Well, I think us being parents and us not being able to fathom how somebody could think like that, or have those emotions, those innate feelings. I think that's fascinating to me. Because
100%. That's why all three of us here, and pretty much I'm sure everybody in the chat, we're all drawn to looking at the darker aspects of human nature. Some people don't. Like, I know some people that are very close to me that will not watch true crime because they say it's negative and it puts me in a negative mindset, and I respect that. I can't help it. I love watching stuff like that. In my opinion, and this is just the way I live my life, I like to study everything. I was nearly going to quote Star Wars then, but I'll refrain. I like to study all its aspects. Both the dark and the light. Oh, sorry, I'll just shut up. But you get where I'm coming from. We all like to look at these people. We love the true crime stuff. We love looking at Lorne. Lorne's a multi-layered. You know, it's not just the darker aspect that we like; it's the humor and everything that goes with this whole saga. But like to what you're saying, Shin, about the the parents who would abuse their own kids. It's interesting. Once you, of course, it's evil from the way that we're looking at it, but there's motivations behind that person. I hope that people don't take this the wrong way. I've got some trolls in the chat. But what I mean is that person is there could be many reasons why they do it. And it's about like understanding. It doesn't mean that you advocating it in any way. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
But you wouldn't like if it happened to someone you knew, by the way. I'm just make that distinction. Because then you'd just be full of anger. It'd take a Jesus type, Christ type character to forgive the person that did that.
Well, the more you look at it from from victimology standpoint, the angrier you get. But if you look at it from the predator standpoint, obviously it's a little more interesting and fascinating, obviously, but it can be very emotional once you start to realize the specific acts that they were engaged in and the the emotional and spiritual trauma that this caused, then it makes you really angry. But somehow we can compartmentalize Lorne, because it's easy with Lorne because he does have actual victims, but none that we know that he physically touched or even came near. So Lorne is a good exercise in this, where we don't have to look at the victims and really, really get pissed off and or heartbroken, so we can just study the predator himself.
Yeah. And Richard Johnson just put, I would imagine a sex predator's motivation is sexual satisfaction. Of course, that's the overriding, that's the instinctual thing. But what leads a person to not consider, why is it that a person doesn't stop to think and have the conscience that we may have and say, well, what the fuck am I doing? Why do, it's like, it would be like me walking down the street and seeing an attractive girl and just and completely disregarding the law for a start and my own integrity and the rights of that person, any empathy, and just throwing them on the floor and attacking and raping them right there and then.
No, just expose yourself. That's the way.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like
just expose yourself to any attractive woman.
Yeah, but this is why I think we always come back to the chat log. Is because there's much to study there, but I do believe a huge factor of it is exactly what we talked about Lorne the sea lion. He's at the bottom of the pecking order. He doesn't have anything else to do. Like, well, he does. He doesn't realise that if he had a life coach at this point when he was in Nashville, or good friends, etc., and steered him on the right path, said, listen, get your shit together, dude. You don't have to do this. But of course, you that's not going to happen. And the kind of problem for people like Lorne is, he's not going to hang around with good people. You're really only going to get good people to steer you in the right direction if you attract those kinds of people into your life. So that's why people like Lorne do what they do. And he's not going to ring his...
Well, that's unique about Lorne, about other predators as well, is his social ostracization from everyone else. He doesn't have any friends, and that alone is whatever his personality is, and that deviance that he has on that side seems to have seeped over socially too. He can't make friends, and that's worth exploring to me.
Well, during his time in Nashville, remember, he went to the barbecue with his friends. He was spending time in the bar. He was going to karaoke bars a lot. And according to Lorne, he was having one-night stands. He was hooking up with women while he was in Nashville. I know whether you believe that or not. I know a lot of people don't, and I don't know. But I don't think it was necessarily like the sea lion analogy. I don't think he was targeting these young girls because he couldn't get an adult woman. I think he was targeting them because he has the emotional age of them.
Right, let me ask you a question then, Amanda James, right?
I'm starting to agree with you on that, Amanda.
If Lorne had a girlfriend at that point, similar to his own age, or prospects of people to his own age, would he have bothered going into that chat room and meeting Kayla?
No, I think if he had a girlfriend, he would be obsessed with her. He would give her
that's
all.
True. Let me reword that. Like I said, forget having a girlfriend.
He's a cheater, though, Andrew. He's a cheater.
Yeah, but what I mean is, he had to take quite. How can I put it? He spent a lot of time to get Kayla, and I wouldn't necessarily say a lot of planning, like he sat down with some kind of master plan, because he'd done it before. The tactics that he was using were tried and tested as far as he was concerned. But I suppose what I'm saying is, he resorted to that because there was no other opportunities. This is what I think. I don't think he had any other opportunities at that time.
Yeah, I disagree. I think he could.
I'm starting to agree with Amanda on that. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead,
he
Amanda,
could have gone to an adult woman. He could have found. There's a lot of people in those chat rooms, I'm sure. I mean, he had Amanda James for 2 years, so he had other like online or telephone girlfriends or whatever. And somebody remind me, how long did it take when he was talking to Kayla before he showed her his dick for the first time?
The first night.
Yeah, I think it was like 3 hours. Was it like 2 or 3 hours, maybe?
2.5 hours. Yeah, but she was experimenting around the hour and 30-minute mark.
It didn't take long, did it?
He went right in for the kill, right? And he had already had experience doing this kind of stuff with Molly, so I don't think.
Also, I would add to that, Amanda, sorry to interrupt, the fact that he was seeking a relationship and long-term marriage and child with this, it seems like he was trying to settle in on that. Mm-hmm. And if he was with a woman, like he only looked at them as a one-night stand, but his long-term goals was to find a child bride. And I don't think since I don't think that any of that other shit happened, that one-night stands or anything like that, I don't think he had any other opportunities there. I still think that his preference was children, was people his own age, his own mental levels.
No,
I agree with you, man.
I do agree with that from a certain perspective. I don't think. How can I put this? Lorne's reasons for feeling more comfortable with children is because he's not emotionally mature enough to hold a normal relationship with anybody, because he's not emotionally, intellectually, he's not an adult. For whatever reason, we've discussed in the past, is it like stunted emotional growth? Is there something genetically wrong with him? Is there some childhood trauma that we don't know about? There's clearly some kind of demotional, I'm making up words now, emotional block that happens somewhere. And there's something wrong. Like, we know that you really have to take one glance at the chat.
I don't think it's any different than a pedophile that has that innate feeling that he can't control and he's born with. I don't think it's any more than that. I don't think there's any environmental factors or anything like that. And Richard said something, I think it was really important. If in fact we were saying that he went to children because he could not get older women, and that was his, older women was really his default. That's where he would go to, but he ended up having to go to children because he couldn't get them. That's like saying sexual predation of children and pedophilia is created by lack of sex. That's not true.
Right. But that doesn't account for all. There's many different types of predators. So look at.
No, we're talking about Lorne here. I know that.
No, but what I mean is you can't say that because there's different reasons why different people seek that, and like with Lorne, there's multi-layers to the chat log. There's the romantic element. There's he got so much from that relationship with Kayla. He obviously got the sexual gratification. There's something inherent in Lorne that is attracted to children. I don't think it's as straightforward as what I said with regard to the sea lion, but I do think that's an element of it. I think it's more complicated than that. I do believe that I have said before that it goes beyond. How can I put it? So him counting the hers down there and the experimenting and all that is pretty sick. You know, he gets gratification from those aspects. The fact that she's getting older. I have always wondered, is it because he's stuck at that emotional level, like he's still 13 and 14 himself, and he never had girlfriends and at school, etc. I've wondered that.
I think that's part of it, but there are adult women who are immature, like Lorne too. There are adult women who are like emotionally stunted, like Lorne was. So he could have pursued a relationship with someone like that. I think he has a physical attraction to girls of that age. I think his jealousy is a big factor too. I think he really liked the idea of a girl who didn't have any sexual experience, and he would be her first. And he wouldn't have to think about ex-boyfriends. I think that kind of stuff would drive Lorne crazy, just knowing, which makes it really funny that he tried to pursue a relationship with a porn star, because I think it would kill him just even knowing that his girlfriend had sex with other men. But there's, it's been repeated. Like there have been no catfish that are kids, of course, since Kayla, but they're very young. They're half his.
You there?
Yeah, sorry about that. Okay. I feel like most people would see an issue with that, with a 50-year-old, in a relationship with a 24-year-old. Like the robot was in her 20s. She was very young. Ramona was in her 20s. She was very young. Rhoda, of course, had just turned 18. And he was willing to move her into his house and have some kind of weird sexual relationship with her, and also pretend to be a father figure, publicly. He doesn't think about age the way he should, I think. And I agree. I think it's because he's stuck at a much younger age, emotionally and mentally. But there are women, like I said, there are women closer to his own age who have the same kind of mind frame as Lorne. They have that sort of high school attitude when it comes to relationships, and he chose to target these young girls. And all the girls he talked to, the other decoys, he said the same thing. Oh, you're a little cutie. You're a young one and a little cutie.
Yep.
He's, that's what gets him going.
That's where I was going to go. I mean, initially I thought, well, maybe he was the walrus. That alpha walrus is getting all the, the Chad is getting all the girls, and so I have to go after a young little pup. But I'm thinking, no, this is his history. This is what he's always done. As far back as we know him, as far back as Lorne recorded history goes, right?
Well, what's our first concrete, what's the first time
Molly would be our first concrete, provable one.
Right. But that
Melissa.
Was that before or after Amanda James?
I think it was after, right?
I mean, the problem is there's a lot that we don't know.
But then there's the issue about his nieces and the short shorts too, and the inappropriateness and all this other stuff, and all of their friends that used to come over. What I'm saying is we don't know half the stuff. When Tiffany dove into Molly with Lorne, we didn't expect that. We didn't expect a fair story. We didn't expect Tony being involved, which I have my doubts on.
Me too.
But Molly never actually meeting him, and it turned into some clusterfuck up there, where whatever was happening. We didn't expect any of that. I reserve everything, my opinion about things, in the same way that I think it's a lot worse than we can expect. I think he's been involved with a lot of, or attempted, I don't want to say involved, but made attempts at a lot of underage girls. And so that's why I bring, my opinion back toward Amanda's side, where I say now, this is his choice. This is his prey of choice.
No, I agree.
A woman.
It's his prey of choice, which I'm interested in. So, I always like to use Dustin McFetridge. If somebody edited this, it'd sound very silly. I always like to use Dustin McFetridge as an example, because from from what I can tell, he's one of the worst out and out pedos. That's just vile. Like, he literally is. He went further than Lorne did in the chat log. He has shitloads on his computer. He's a true. I don't think Lorne's on that level. There is obviously. It could be, and I'm open to this, is that Lorne didn't have. So there's like theory. Well, not really theory, but a lot of people believe that when you have that attraction to these children, it develops further the further you take it. So if you looking at child porn, you then want more extreme child porn, and it gets worse to the higher category. Then maybe you want further stimulation by maybe you just never took it that far. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that. But also, in terms, it's interesting that you brought up child porn, because I believe that he was also engaged with that.
Well, that's another interesting element of it all, isn't it? And we discussed it in detail. Yeah. That picture is very interesting.
Well, we know he wanted to create child porn with Kayla.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Yep.
And so we know that he didn't come out and say it. He said he couldn't remember what happened, but I'm sure he encouraged Molly to show herself to him on cam. I think it's physical. The attraction is physical. That's the immediate thing that attracts him to these young girls. But it's also
at her picture. He stares at her picture.
How could you stare at that picture and not say, "Holy shit, this is a little kid"?
Well, he's looking at
the
her
voice
mouth.
as well. I think the voice is more alarming than the pictures, if I'm being honest. Because with the pictures, there's at least some form of she's starting to become mature. She's sexual, she's becoming sexually mature. Barely, yes, but at least there's some resemblance of an adult there. If you could, well, there isn't, but you get what I'm saying. It's not like a fucking 6-year-old. The voice sounds like a baby. You wouldn't even think she sounds. And what's interesting is it sounds younger than her years. It doesn't sound like a 13-year-old girl. It sounds like an 8-year-old girl. That's what Kayla sounds like.
The pictures for me.
But Amanda's point was he was physically attracted to these young girls. Physically. No, of course. And when I say he's staring at her picture, that's what he's staring at her picture for. He's jerking off, first of all. He's looking at her mouth.
But
he's
it's
looking at
the only girls that he has access to, don't forget.
Why?
What I mean is,
why is it the only girls he has access to, though? Because it's the only ones he's targeting.
Right. So, maybe that could be true. But I'm just saying that is he only targeting the younger ones because he thinks that's all he can get? So if you let's just take the Kayla situation as an example and just leave the others for a time being. As we've discussed, and even Tiffany put to him, that was the perfect forum for him because he felt it was risk-free. Of course, the humour is it was far from risk-free. He had the opportunity to groom her over a period of time. He didn't, his kind of physical insecurities he could kind of put aside, his lack of social skills, it was perfect for him. And at that point, he's got this female there that is starting to grow into an adult. And he's become perverted on that. There's obviously got to be... There's got to be some... I suppose I'm relaying it from personal experience. I don't mean my own. It's just that I used to, when I was younger, I used to hang about with people when I was about 20. And they'd end up, going after, 15-year-olds and stuff. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And I always felt I was very strange. I don't, obviously, speak to those people anymore. And I always thought that... And the more I've understood about this subject, the more I've wondered why they did that, and it kind of brings me back to the sea lion analogy.
Well, I think Lorne really enjoyed the grooming process.
It made him feel smart, maybe.
Well, I think he craves control, and we see that with his other catfish. He wants to control their lives completely. He wants to say who they can talk to, who they can hang out with. And even with Kayla, he's basically dictating her thoughts. Did you write my name in little hearts today? I mean, he's
that
teaching
repetitive
her,
bullshit. Yeah.
he was teaching her how to behave in their relationship. He was showing her, this is what I expect from you. And I mean, there's that aspect of the grooming, but then there's also the sexual grooming where he's talking about all these scenarios they're going to do together. I mean, he brought it back to sex constantly. She'd mention a bubble bath or something, and he's like, well, you're going to lay on top of me in the bubble bath and touch my penis and hold on to it. He was teaching her.
He had positioned ready. He your leg's going to be up here, your arm's going to, like he's playing Twister in bed. Let me ask you guys a question, and it's kind of maybe it'll kind of form into a point. Do you think he exposed himself to any of his adult catfish, Amanda James? Forget about the catfish that, part of the community, the Ramonas. We already know that, the showers and everything else. But let's just call them real life catfish. The Amanda James, or even the Nickies who he met in real life. Do you think he had a chance to expose himself in those situations, or that he did?
I don't think he ever exposed himself to Nikki, but Amanda James, I would say yes. I bet he did.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. I don't think, Andrew mentioned his physical insecurities. I don't think Lorne was very insecure about the way he looked, which is remarkable. But I think he was insecure.
Well, there's the bald thing.
Right. That's what he was insecure about, but he could cover that up with his hat. I mean, would an insecure person be on camera naked constantly? Would he
I don't think that's the nature of exhibitionism.
Can I just address something in the comments? I'm sorry to interrupt, but this comes up quite a lot, and it does need. I do need someone that I haven't seen in the chat before, so it could just be a wind up. Has said I'm making excuses for Lorne. I always have to kind of explain this because I'm not making excuses for him. I don't know what I've said that would think that. All I'm doing is trying to ask questions about what motivates these people. There's always motivations. So is it that there's a genuine... Because there's disagreements between me and Amanda James and Shin. They both believe that Lorne is mostly driven by genetic, if you want to call it genetic, like his tendency to be attracted to kids. I'm leaning towards there is obviously that element of it. You'd have to be a fucking moron to say otherwise. There are some people...
you have to be challenged. Everything should be challenged. That's the only way the truth comes out, right?
I don't think you're making excuses at all. I think you're looking for reasons, and the reasons are inexcusable. But I'm just trying to figure out why. But no, nobody's making excuses for Lorne.
Everybody knows you by now, Andrew. They'll catch up
just in case someone has a genuine issue. I do love Lorne, by the way. FBI. It's important to address it just in case. Well, I like, to be honest, I don't mind those questions every now and again because it
Yeah, but you fight this off every year.
Yeah, but every year. Yeah, but it doesn't really. So what? But I don't mind addressing it every now and again. But that's what you have YouTube. I mean, to be fair, I used to get a few more harsher comments than that in the past.
I know.
But no, it's fun to explore. I think Lorne's a kind of unique case in a way because it's you can kind of understand a lot of the other ones. You can understand Lorne, but we're having these discussions now and disagreements, and that's what.
Well, I want to be challenged. I want you to challenge me. I whether you feel that way or not, and that's the other thing. Just because you say something, you bring something up, doesn't mean that's the way you feel. You're basically questioning. That's all you're doing. That's it. It doesn't mean that's the position you adopted, or even if you did feel that way, you're still looking for evidence because the ultimate goal is the truth. So if we were to just agree with each other on everything,
well, yeah, it makes for more interesting. It makes for more interesting streams as well, doesn't it? Because of course, usually, and there's other streams, and everybody just slags Lorne off, and that's the end of it, and that's fine because it's it's entertaining and all that. But it is fun to.
They're making fun of you now, bro.
I know, it's all good. It's all good. It is fun to
You can't unscramble the egg, man.
It is fun to question, to ask some of the more, to not always like to try and understand why these people behave like they do. Andrew is Lorne's protector.
I know.
No, I think it's really interesting to try to understand Lorne. Like, remember in his lawsuit, the lawsuit against NBC.
Oh, do we?
He said something. I've got to revisit that. It's been a while since
we got to go back to that too. You're right.
Yeah, I would love to. He said something like, talking to a kid online isn't really that bad. Like, talking sexually isn't really that bad. And I think he believes that.
I do.
It's like when he was talking to Tiffany about Molly, he's like, well, yeah, we were going to try to be boyfriend and girlfriend, and we exposed ourselves a couple times, but I really helped her a lot.
Like, that's not weird.
Yeah. And Tiffany's like, well, you see now that she was your victim, right? You understand that. And he hesitated. I don't think he sees it that way. I think he even said that he wished he kept in contact with Molly because she was a very special person. So, I mean, if he truly understood that what he was doing was wrong and harmful to her, then the last thing he would want would be to remain in her life and continue damaging her. So I think, and in his mind, he really didn't do anything that bad. And maybe even having sex with a girl that age, 13, 14, 15, I don't think he thinks it's that bad. Like you said, it's not a 6-year-old. It's not a 5-year-old.
Yeah, he wished he lived in another country. He probably wished he lived in the Philippines. That's probably his ideal scenario.
This would have been a different time.
Shall we, we've been streaming for nearly an hour, well, not quite an hour because of my usual technical mishaps, and we've not even gone to the chat log. That's how interesting this is. Shall we?
We have to preface it.
But
we've got some good context. There's no doubt about that.
Andrew, are you still sharing your screen? Because I can't see it.
Right. No, because... Right, okay, let me...
we're over on Skype?
I'll sort that now. Second. Just one sec. I didn't realise we'd ended the call.
While you're doing that...
Oh, no, I am sharing the screen.
It's amazing.
Well, why can't
there it is. We got it now. I got it now. Amanda, you got it yet?
No.
It came a little late for me.
Okay. Okay.
Right, okay. Sorry about that.
Right. This is our 39th analysis?
No, 29th. Oh, no, 29th.
Okay, 29th?
Yeah.
And we're on what day?
Well, take a look.
Oh, we got a good one here today. We have a mention of Derek.
It's off my screen. Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I don't have it on the screen anymore. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah. So
this is the 25th.
Stopped, where I've highlighted here is exactly where we stopped last time. So it was basically Lorne. Have you told? Oh no, sorry. This is where we were. Good. It's probably better that you don't. He was trying to find out if her friends knew about him, which was interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say it's interesting because is he worried he's going to get sprung and found out, or is he worried about getting snapped up by Derek or Derek's mate?
I think it's kind of both. I think he kind of wanted her to talk to her friends about him because that means she's thinking about him. And I think he would love the thought of this little girl sitting there giggling with her friends about how cute her boyfriend is and how much she loves him and she's going to marry him and they're going to have a baby named Hannah Nicole. And,
I love that.
It's kind of like, it goes back to drawing, writing his name and drawing little hearts all around it. But at the same time, he knows in his head, like, oh shit, we can't tell anybody or I'm going to go to jail.
No, that's the most fascinating part of this. You would think that that's the biggest thing of all. He'd want her to know, don't tell anybody. Now he's saying he's even being wishy-washy about it. It's probably better that you don't, rather than just say, that's the most fascinating part to me. No, you absolutely cannot tell anybody. He's actually making it kind of a mild suggestion. And it's like he has no idea of the awareness of the danger that he's in, or what he's doing is, he's going to get caught, other than his stupid delete the archives things. But I'm so surprised to see him say that so casually, so cavalier. It's probably better that you don't, rather than, yeah, absolutely don't. Do not tell anybody. It's like a suggestion.
I wish you were here when I came home from work every night. I was just talking to Shin then, by the way. Oh, Luke, that's what it says here. I wish you were here when I came home from work every night, though.
What a coincidence.
But I wonder if I always... This is what... I always try and wonder, how much did Lorne really want that to happen? Did he really buy into this idealistic lifestyle that he's painting in this chat log? I think he kind of did. What do you reckon?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, he wanted that.
He wanted that. He is sitting there, all like I was saying before, all these little scenarios that he talks about. There's one particularly disturbing one where he is describing her cooking at the stove, and he is, I guess, going to be on his knees in front of her. I'm sure I don't have to finish painting the picture, but all these little fantasies that he comes up with, he absolutely wanted that. He still does want it. He does the same thing with his catfish throughout the years.
There's a distinction between, I don't think he wants it with his adult catfish, but I think he wants it with his child prey, because I think he knows his deficiencies.
Yeah, but doesn't he? That's not the impression I get from the catfish calls.
Yeah, I disagree. I think he wants the catfish there.
I think he's scared to death of them coming there.
I'm sure he is, and it's comfortable living in the fantasy, but I think he has no experience with real relationships. Like, he's never had a girlfriend, he's never lived with a woman. So in his mind, when these catfish come live with him or stay with him or whatever, he has like an unrealistic picture of what that would be like. And I think he really does want that.
But it's so much less intimidating if it's a child that has no experience and knows that he's got nothing to offer.
I agree with that.
And so in this context, in this chat log, yes, he does want that because of that. But I think there's a little bit of a difference when it comes to the adults. I think he understands that it could be scary.
I just don't think he's thought things through. He doesn't have the ability to think. Just
when does he ever, man?
No, well, that's exactly you sort of reading my mind. I was just about to say, if you think about his crazy schemes and his financial life, everything, he doesn't have the ability to plan logically. It's like he's a purely instinctual creature, and you've mentioned that before, Shin. He can't ever. I mean, we were all guilty of that in romantic. You know, you get swept away with the euphoria, if you want to, whatever. You know, it's the ultimate disease of naivety. That's a grim way of fucking summing up relationships, isn't it? But you get what I mean. It's like, but that you can't apply that to Lorne, because for a start, he's never experienced that kind of real relationship euphoria, however you want to put it. So you can't really apply that to him. You can just say he can't plan shit. So he's not like, because look at this. You know, I wish you were here. So he wishes. Let's put Lorne says there, I wish you were here when you came home from work every night, into a real world scenario, into Lorne's life. So he came home from work, and Kayla's just coming in with a school bag, and she's going to start doing her homework, and then Lorne sits down and helps her with the homework, and then they take a break every 5 minutes and count the
liquor plate.
Yeah, it's like, what? Have you actually thought about this, you fucking moron? He's not, has he? There's no
planning,
well, he thought about the
there's no logic.
Bubble
it's
bath,
just fucking stupid.
Well, it's the same thing with all the catfish. Like Winnie, for example, he wanted Winnie to come live with him. Winnie was insane and on drugs, and he for some
shitting everywhere.
and shitting everywhere. And for some reason, he thought that it was going to work out living with this woman. And then the robot, for example, the robot is a young woman, like in her 20s. She's 6 feet tall. She's a porn star. And he's going to move her into his trailer in rural Maine and introduce her to his mother.
And don't forget, this
Andrew,
isn't a porn. Sorry, what's that, mate?
I'm sorry. Have you ever seen the photograph of Lorne and Jamie Amy?
Oh my God!
In front of the trailer failure, where it was obviously
right. Amanda James, can you send that to me now, please?
Yeah,
it is. She towers over him. It's so funny.
I don't have it myself, but I'll get it for you and try to send it to you.
I love that picture.
Shin, just for future reference, please don't bring up these amazing photographs that I can't actually look at while we're streaming.
I'm just wondering if you saw it. That's all. Okay, sorry about that.
She's a foot taller than him. They're both making kissy faces.
She's like a foot taller than him. Too. It's funny.
And all the garbage surrounding it is in the background. It's very funny, and that's the life Lorne envisioned. His beautiful.
And that's the photograph he blew up and put on his wall.
Yeah, he did.
Wow, it's remote. You know, I every now and again something comes to the surface where I feel sorry for him. I don't know, I'm going to get berated for that, but I'm thinking this poor guy. He's so stupid. What a disability. You know, it's like how is someone so dumb? Yeah, I mean,
you know, another factor to consider about the robot. She's a 20-something-year-old, beautiful, 6-foot-tall porn star.
Yeah, Instagram influencer type beautiful. It doesn't get any more. It's like chiseled, isn't it? Like a Greek goddess or something.
This perfection, absolutely beautiful. Yes, I don't think she would fit in well in Cornville, Maine, in the trailer, but she can't speak. She has no.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry to interrupt. Gorilla Face Gwen has that photograph. Andrew, just put your email address in there.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure that's a good idea, actually. Oh, fuck it. No one cares.
People start sending you stuff. I think it's a great idea.
I want to. Lorne doesn't know sign language. The robot communicates with Lorne through like a text-to-speech thing. But I don't think it's on her phone. She has to borrow a phone to be able to do that. So, right. I think she borrowed Will's phone to be able to speak to Lorne. So Lorne's going to move this woman up to his trailer, and she can't talk, and he doesn't know sign language. She's going to have to carry around like a little notebook and a pencil and write everything.
I can't put my email address in because I don't want people to guess my age because it's too embarrassing. So, yeah, we'll have to leave it.
Oh, come on.
I'm almost as insecure about that as Lorne is about his hair. In fact, oh no, I'm just going to say I'll Google it. The robot thing is interesting to me because what she's I was listening to a call and the robot said it was pregnant, right? Because what was it? No, it was something was going on where the robot had just got it on with someone on a film set or whatever they were doing, right?
Rod.
Yeah.
If the robot's got this voice problem and is so ill that she needs some kind of device to speak for her, how can she healthily do a job?
Oh, you're thinking too much, Andrew. You're putting way too much thought into this.
No, but does he not? But what I mean,
as long as it gets past Lorne, that's all that matters.
Oh no, but that's what I'm talking about. Why has he not thought of that? Why is he not thinking? Hang on a minute.
We can go on and on with that list if you want.
Well, I can make it a really short list. He's stupid.
That's the short answer. Yeah. Yeah. Or you know what's funny is the pregnancy thing, and I said this in a few comments. Lorne was trying to take control of that situation, and yet he had two potential biological fathers that they didn't know whose the kid was, and so Lorne thought that he could still control the situation, when in fact, in real life, both those biological fathers wouldn't want a child predator around their kid. So he would be the odd man out no matter what. And it never occurred to him. He thought just because he's got Jamie Amy as the robot as his fiance that he can call the shots with the kids. No, he's lucky he can even have a relationship with the kids. Or Jamie Amy, if she chooses to stay with him, will be able to keep custody of the kid. So it's funny that the real world does not penetrate his skull at all.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he was still in control of that.
Penetrate.
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to hold you every night. That would be a dream come true. Oh, how sweet. Don't go anywhere, as I'm staying right here, precious. I'll be right here, Elliot. I'm staring at your pic. God, you're beautiful. Oh, God, Lorne.
There it is.
and they just go...
When he says, I lost all track of her age, when he's trying to excuse what he did, we know that's a lie. We know it's bullshit. He's constantly referencing her age, asking her how was school. She's always like, "Oh,
I've
mommy
seen
and
that
daddy
picture,
are
by
coming.
the way.
Oh, the one of Jamie and
you have it. You have it.
It's like they're taking a selfie in front of the trailer, aren't they?
Yes,
right,
yeah.
right,
It's
right.
Brilliant.
You like the size difference? It's funny. I think
Lorne loved her.
So is that the same model that was used, by the way, or was that just?
It's the same one. Can you imagine her and Lorne walking into the local convenience store together,
Walmart? I love to imagine that.
How many pictures has he seen of that model?
A handful, I think, but it's always the same model.
Right.
I mean, this girl has legs like a mile long. She's beautiful, and I love to imagine Lorne walking hand in hand with this. And she's all like glamorous and dressed up. She's in her high heels and all that shit. She's towering over him, and they're going to the local Walmart together, or going to mom's house. And the mute porn star Jamie,
or the food pantry,
or going to the dump to collect
the dump
more.
and the food pantry, and then back to Mama Gwen's.
What a life.
There's a line coming up here that I think is really interesting.
What, are you in PJ? Well, this is just bullshit, this bit. And then he goes to, are you in your PJs right now? No, I'm not even stopping.
No, just before that. I'm sorry.
Thank you for wanting me.
Thank you for wanting me.
Oh, yeah. I misread that. I skipped over it and thought it said thank you for waiting for me. I didn't even pick up on that, dude.
That sounds so desperate.
Hang on a minute. That's a really great one to bring up, that dude. Hang on a minute. I'm not sure. Thank you for wanting me.
Yeah, it's almost like finally somebody wants me.
That's weird. I've never seen that before. Of course I have, but I've never.
I haven't either. That's why I'm just looking at it.
That is a great find, that dude. That's very, very interesting. Like, it's such a strange thing to say as well. Like, it also shows he's got absolutely no clue on how to talk to. I was going to say how to talk to women. All right, how to talk to children.
You know what it reminds me of? I always like to bring stuff from the chat log, like find patterns with stuff from the catfishing, and there were very few catfish that would say I love you to Lorne, but Winnie was one of them. I mean, she said I loathe you, but he didn't know what that meant. He thought she was saying I love you, so good enough for him. But after like he'd say I love you, baby, and she'd be like, yeah, I loathe you too, and he would say thank you. He would thank her for responding with.
I think this is the most truthful thing he said in this whole chat log.
Yeah, I think that's what he wants above all. We know he doesn't have any standards. Like, he'll fall in love with anyone who shows him any interest. So that's the most important thing to him, is that someone wants him.
Yeah, this goes back. I don't want to get too much drawn into that, what we discussed earlier, because we had opposing views, but it kind of buys into my sea lion theory again a little bit. He's so desperate, you know.
I with the desperation 100%.
And
I'm just saying,
but he's done this in different iterations too. he's done this in Are You Sure You Want Me as Your Boyfriend? Just that question wasn't meant to be, it was almost meant to be rhetorical. She was supposed to say, of course I am. That's the same thing that he's expressing. So he does it throughout the chat log. It's just desperation.
He does it to the catfish too. He'll say, why do you love me? Tell me why you love me. He'll say
something
tell me.
good about me.
Yes. He wants constant reassurance. He wants to be flattered. He wants to feel wanted.
But he even said that when he was getting grilled by Tiffany, or even other people, and he would always say it was just not as his only justification, but he was always revert back to it. It was just there was just somebody there that I could talk to that wanted to that wanted to be there, because that's how he feels. He feels validated at this point, like not a total loser. There is someone in the world that is interested in him, and I think.
And he's never had that in his whole life.
Yeah, and I think that is a big element of this. Of course, that is not the only factor. That's what we said. This is multifaceted, this chat log. As any human is, even the most boring human you can imagine, and I know a few of them, every human being has got infinite depth. And, well, you get what I'm saying, don't you? It's
yeah, I do.
This longing for belonging is it's such a huge element of the whole of Lornography and Lorne's. Is even as he is now as the catfishing, and that statement that comment that you picked out there highlights that, doesn't it? It's like,
yeah. Well, he's had people. You got to remember his famous line. I finally found, but I'm just paraphrasing. I finally found somebody who didn't want me just for my wallet, and you in initial on first blush you think, oh, what an idiot. He doesn't have any money. What's he talking about? Yeah. I think what that means is, and I think it's closer to reality, is that a woman may have found him attractive before in a situation. He may have been in a bar or whatever, but she turned out to be a sex worker, and I think that is the only time he's been teased into thinking that somebody wanted him, but they wanted his wallet.
I think.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I interrupted you, but I agree. I think he's been used for money before from women. I mean, we know about Nikki. Nikki was after Kayla, of course, but I think it's fair to assume that it could have, the same sort of thing was happening before. But Nikki basically used him for his money. I mean, he offered it.
Kayla was before Nikki, so
right,
and that was his excuses. But I think that the only attention he ever got was somebody who had an underlying commercial agenda. Yeah,
I agree with that. Well, and also adult women are gonna expect a level of financial security. Not to say that they're, that like you need to be super wealthy or something, but like have a job, be able to hold down a job.
Right.
Women are gonna.
And that's important, because it's not like you're being shallow or anything. At the end of the day, money is important, and if you can't, even if you was totally enamored with someone, and they couldn't hold down a job, a lot of women would walk out the door. There's so many factors that make up a relationship, isn't there? And Lorne doesn't have anything to offer. Like you said, Amanda James, we did this couple of streams about it, didn't we? Is everything repulsive to a woman? He doesn't have anything.
And a child has no concept of money. She doesn't care about how much an hour.
Success,
or responsibility.
Accomplishments.
Right. It's, like if a man can't hold down a job, then a woman's gonna, think, well, maybe this guy's irresponsible. He doesn't have his priorities. Whatever. A kid doesn't understand that or care about it. Like during the phone calls, Lorne was it during a phone call? Yeah, Lorne was talking about how much. He's like, oh, I have a job interview on Monday, and I could make this much a year at this place, and I could make this much an hour at this place. And Kayla's like, wow, she has no idea
Yeah,
What the
she gets babysitting money. That's all.
Yeah, you're right there. All he has to do at that point is start mentioning some figures, and he'll get a job in a while, and that's enough to impress a child. But anyone who isn't naive would immediately suss Lorne out and go, "This guy's full of shit. He's a loser."
Oh, remember when he showed her his credit card with the $300 limit, like it was something exciting? Can't do that.
That's
to
so funny.
How the fuck did he go through $300 so fast?
I think
he didn't
he was
have
trying
that
to
for
buy the bar.
gas.
Can you imagine if we could, this is an impossibility, but it's fun to think about. Can you imagine if we somehow got a copy of Lorne's life balance sheet? And I don't mean that metaphorically. I mean a genuine copy of Lorne's financial balance sheet. Just the incomings and outgoings through his whole life. That'd just be so interesting, wouldn't it?
It would be like
that would be
cigarette budget would be 38%.
That's right, Shan. Yeah.
You know, the beer budget would be 44%, and whatever.
What about cars you can't pay for? Don't forget.
Didn't he give Nikki a very large amount of money? He had to like take a loan out or something to give her that money.
He said he did, you know, but the thing is, looking at the bankruptcy papers, I didn't see any matching figures for what he said he gave her. I think it was $10,000.
I'm sure he exaggerated the amount.
Well, yeah, I don't know one way or the other, but, you know, and he doesn't seem like the guy who would let that sit like that either.
What do you mean?
If she owes money, he's going to pay her back.
Yeah.
Amanda,
I don't.
Thank you for wanting me. Okay, thank you.
It's a great line, that, isn't it? Isn't it funny how that's one of the more telling lines of the whole chat log, and yet we've never picked up on it before. Well, what I mean is we've never got to this part before, you know. But what I mean is it's not something that's ever been. I don't remember anybody talking about it. Maybe Nathaniel Trevor did about it back in the day, but yeah. But it's interesting. It's very interesting. A bit sad as well, you know.
I don't think it's sad. I think it's justice. I think it's karma.
No, I don't mean it's sad as in let's feel sorry for him. I mean it's sad. He's a sad person.
Oh yeah, he's a sad human being. Like David Bowie singing to Richie Gervais. Sad,
yeah,
sad
that's
man.
right. Yeah, that's a good one. See my pug nose. Are you in your PJs right now? No, not yet. Wish I could help you get into them, or at least out of your clothes that you're in anyway. You probably wouldn't be putting on any PJs once I got you out of the clothes you're in because you'd be sleep. What the fuck is he going on about?
Jesus.
It's almost like a line from Taken Abroad, this, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I like the ... dots. I like those.
Too many words, and you're not putting them back on because we're going to be naked. I want to ask you guys, do you think, so he constantly goes back to sex every other line. That's what he wants to talk about more than anything. And Kayla is just not reciprocating. Do you think that he can't take the hint, or he just doesn't care?
I think he likes that in a way. It gives him more permission to keep digging, I think.
Yeah, he's gotten this far, you know.
I think he would love it if she gave it back to him, and she was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to be
naked the whole time though.
My leg's going to be over my head." You know, I think he would love.
I'm not sure. I think he likes the innocent aspect of her. I love your innocence. I think he likes. He gets just enough from her, just enough that she's curious, which is obviously the role that the decoy's playing. And I think he likes that. I think that fuels his fire even more. That's just. I
agree,
opinion.
but I think he needs some spank bank material once in a while.
Yeah, I'm going to be argumentative.
Trying to get her to say "fuck me" or something.
Right, that's what I was just going to bring up. He wants that dirty talk. That's why he asks her, "What were you thinking about when you were thinking about me?" What
My
were your
penis.
thoughts?
He asked her
Exactly.
specifically about his penis.
He
What
wants
were you
her to
thinking?
say, I was thinking about, us taking a bubble bath together and you doing this
Yeah.
to me and me doing this to you. He really, really wants that, because it's all very one-sided here.
But
And that's
he
okay.
believes it, though. He believes that she wants him, as he said there. So
Yes.
he's gotten more, like, he doesn't say, there's occasional elements of doubt, occasional spells of doubt that come in, like, are you sure you want this? And, what's going on with Derek? But he believes that she's going to give him what he wants.
Right, but I mean, he doesn't seem able to take the hint that she's not as interested in talking about that stuff as him. There's lots of examples, like when he's trying to get her to experiment on herself, and she comes right out and tells him, like, I feel weird. I don't really want to do this.
Just do it. Just do it.
Just do it. It's okay. It's just you doing it. Now tell me how it feels. Can he not take the hint, or does he think she is, playing shy?
I think he thinks he can groom her into what he wants. I think he thinks that's part of the process. I think he thinks he's got a whiteboard in front of him and he gets to put whatever he wants on it. And of course, it may be some resistance, but the resistance is only in the form of curiosity.
Well, he says it here, Luke. That would be nice, huh? He's even asking questions for her.
He wants her to reciprocate. I think he can tell that she's shy and uncomfortable with it, and he just doesn't care. He's setting out the expectation. This is how we're going to talk. This is how I want to talk to you, and I want you to talk to me like this. Like another example is when he was drunk or hungover or something. He's like, I look like shit. You want to see my penis or my face? And she's like, your face, please. I'd rather look at your face. I think he knows that she's not as interested in all the sex stuff.
I think there's maybe a good example of that down here, Amanda James. If you just take a look down here, what would you want to do if you were sleeping naked with me, lol? Gee, I don't know. Let's see what he comes. What now? Let's have a little quiz, right? What do you think he's going to come back with?
I think he's going to ask
my penis as long as you want. It's got to be. You got to throw that part into it too. As much as you want and as long as you want.
I think he's going to ask another specific question.
Yeah, I think he's going to keep going until he gets something better than G. I don't know.
Well, let's see.
Would you want to touch my penis yet?
He's so
I know this guy, man. I know this guy.
Yeah.
And I say that with a great deal of shame.
Me too. Me too.
There's no hiding proclivities at this point, guys. Would you want to touch? You want me to? She comes back with that quite a lot, and it's quite. I like that. It's quite clever of the decoy. It's a good. I think it's part of the training.
It almost sounds like a come on line too. It's almost.
Yeah,
it's not
it's
just
very clever because
it's like
it's like a come on line, and they're putting it back on him. They're letting him dig his own grave in a way,
and this makes him more excited.
And also,
hell yeah,
it's almost like she's totally subservient to him, if I've said that right, because it's almost like her only purpose is to please him. You want me to, and I think he likes that.
Yeah, she clearly doesn't want to because she wants to touch his penis. She wants to do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So the interest in the sex is not on her end. She, the ever reciprocates is with "I love you, I miss you," with the sort of like emotionally romantic stuff, and not.
There was one time in the call with the decoy, when she said "I love you," she sounded like exasperated at that point. She went, "I love you too." It's like we got to listen to it again at some point. But I think she was just worn out, and that was a different decoy. He wears you out fast.
I'm sure it kills those decoys to have to talk like that to these perverts. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, especially speaking as opposed to writing it.
And he just keeps going. Just keeps going. Would you want me to touch your vagina? I'm gonna have to be careful because it's very hot here, and I've got the windows and doors open. Next door might be hearing what I'm saying. Can you imagine?
Well, she does the same. Wow, you wanna? Instead of saying yes, I want you to.
Hell yeah.
You want to? Okay.
And you know he's pumping his fist in the air when he says it. Hell yeah. Twice.
He's very enthusiastic.
He's like, I'm in.
He sure is. Yeah. So, anyway, we're going to have to start wrapping it up. I know it's been a bit of a shorter one today, but I'm like... I've like... In my... Huh?
We don't get very far in the chat because we're talking about...
Yeah, I was going to mention that. I thought we were going to stay on the same page, to be honest. We've actually done well to scroll down a little bit, really. But it just shows you we're never going to run out of material as long as we've all got the motivation to do these and we still enjoy it. There's an endless supply of material. There really is. Because like you said, Shin, even if we do finish this chat log, which is doubtful, you could just go back to the beginning again.
It's like shoving sand against the tide, man. Not gonna work.
I would love to do the lawsuits.
And then there's the issues about, whether we want to talk about him being an incel, whether he's a stalker. We talked about that controversial thing about whether, want to talk about his child sexual abuse allegations.
Sure. Yeah.
That's something we don't mind attacking things. There's just so much to talk about with this guy. And above it all hangs this umbrella of this chat log that we have to slog through.
This is a dumb question, but did I do the lawsuit with you guys?
I was just thinking of that, I think you did, because I remember you reading and laughing where he said where it was a cunning female decoy. Do you remember reading that bit? And you just started laughing? Like, it was one of the funniest parts, like, the cunning female decoy. I sort of compared it to a movie title, like Single Female Lawyer. Lorne's is cunning female decoy.
I think we revisited that with her. We did a really deep dive about 2 or 3 years ago.
Well, that's the one I want to listen to then. I want to go back and listen to that. So I have to try to find it.
Yeah, we will definitely revisit that because it is definitely worth it. But I can actually replay you in my brain, Amanda James, laughing to that. Like I remember what you said. Yeah, you said you actually said you started reading it and then went, "Oh my, cunning female decoy."
Yeah,
one of the highlights of the whole lawsuit. It's absolutely remarkable. Yes.
Oh, I do think it's worth revisiting if we ever get the chance, which we, is doubtful.
Well, we keep building up information about him, and,
right?
And we got to start applying it to some of the stuff we already did before we didn't have as much information.
Good point. Mm-hmm. Good point.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, apologies for the initial blip, the previous video, but at least we've got through this one without any major hiccups. I think it's been a bit of fun as well. I think we've not covered a lot of the chat log, but I think we've had some interesting things to discuss, as we always do. There's always something that you can get out of these videos. So thank you very much. Oh, that fucking bot in the chat again. Piss off. The timeout thing doesn't work that well.
I'm about to find love in my city right now. So,
you lucky bastard! I don't think that applies to here. Anyway, yeah. Thanks for joining us, everybody. I do appreciate you coming in and sharing all this with us. It's otherwise there's no point. So, thank you for coming by and supporting these streams. Please leave any comments. When it's if you're not listening to this live, and can see what you think, and we may do. We may continue the book next week, Amanda James. Will you have transcribed enough at that point?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Right.
I started yesterday, and we're getting some action.
Oh.
And there was only one left by the fire. Just Samuel.
And we get some really shitty attempts at humor.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it's really dumb.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mm-hmm. Like you're gonna roll your eyes and like it.
Interesting. Can't wait for that.
I rolled mine.
Right.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for that.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. So